All right, we are going to get started today. We've got a couple quick announcements up at the top. We're going to go really fast because the main event is going to be hearing from the finalists and their amazing pitches about the innovations they've been developing. So, welcome to session one of the Fire Grand Challenge finalist pitch day. We're going to hear from 5 different innovator teams. And so, you've seen this diagram if you've been following the challenge, but we launched back in last August. We had a 4-month open application period, went through that novel matchmaking process to pair up these teams. And then they've been working on field testing and further developing their innovations for the last 9 months. So you're going to hear a little bit about their progress and really about the amazing innovations that they're developing to help transform how we live with and manage fire. A couple different opportunities I want to flag for everybody in the audience today. First off, this is a teaser event for our final event and prize ceremony, the Solution Summit event, which is going to be taking place at the Oakland Museum of California on January 27th. This is a private event, and so please, we're going to put a link in the chat which you can find. You can apply to attend, and we'd love to have you. The summit's going to be uniting the 12 finalist teams with Indigenous and community leaders, policymakers, scientists. So if you think you could add to the conversation and benefit from it, please use that link to reach out. The museum's going to be closed for the event, and also you're going to have exclusive access to the new Good Fire Tending Native Lands exhibit. And so really exciting opportunity there. Reach out about it, apply to join. We'd love to see you there. Next, there's another opportunity with helping choose the winners for the Fire Grand Challenge. We've been assembling an expert group of evaluators to review the final reports from the teams, to review their progress, the potential for their innovation. If you see your expertise on the right here in this list of relevant expertise, and you're interested in helping evaluate these innovations, you can reach out to us at fire@conservationxlabs.org. You'll be receiving the reviews then in a couple weeks once we approve your participation, and then you'll have about 3 weeks to review those. And so reach out to us if you're interested in either of those opportunities, attending the Solution Summit event in January or helping with the review process. And now on to the main event. We're excited we have 5 teams. And first off, I'm going to pass it to the Indigenous Future Society and the Washoe tribe to give their pitch.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Louis Corsi-Mayorga. I'm the Traditional Ecological Knowledge and GIS Integration Specialist here at IFS.
I'm Derek Goodwin. I'm Walaki and Nomalaki from Round Valley Indian Tribes, and I'm the TEK Integration Program Director.
And I'm Hayden Coe, Yaqui descendant and Tech with Indigenous Future Society, a growing team supporting tribal nations across the Sierra Nevada bioregion with tools, training, and capacity they need to strengthen fire resilience and protect cultural ecologies. Our focus is on implementing technology and systems that support Indigenous decision-making, improve on-the-ground awareness, and help communities navigate the Western systems they're required to operate within.
So here's the challenge we've identified. Tribal communities are doing essential work: cultural stewardship, emergency response, environmental monitoring, often with understaffed teams with huge responsibilities. And at the same time, agencies and funders are asking for documentation and reporting that doesn't match tribal workflows or tribal value systems. We see this especially in our fire safety work. Agencies and funders set timelines, metrics, and deliverables that feel unrealistic because they don't value the same things or attributes as tribal people do. So they're prioritizing quantification and metrics to evaluate a goal, while Native communities prioritize relationships, process, and safety as the goal. So tribes end up trying to translate cultural community priorities into formats that were never built for them. And when sensitive data is scattered across PDFs, emails, and outdated tools, that translation gets even harder. So what we hear kind of consistently from our communities is we want tools that make work easier, clearer, has our perspectives, and where we control the data. And that's the gap we're working to close. Recently, CAL FIRE awarded us a $1.2 million grant to support capacity building and implementation for 3 to 5 tribes in the whole of 125,000 square mile Sierra Nevada biosphere, which is home to 55 tribes. And that investment is a critical start, but also shows a large funding gap when we consider how many more communities could benefit from this work.
Our solution to this challenge is Ops Ready, a platform built to uphold tribal sovereignty by supporting culturally grounded decision-making while still giving tribes what Western agencies require in their reports and fire safety planning. Ops Ready is intuitive, customizable, and individually designed so that tribes remain in full authority over their data and maintain long-term data sovereignty. Ops Ready grew from First Nations work in Canada, and as it moved into the US, we carried forward a core belief. Tools should adapt to the community and not the other way around. For tribes, mapping is more than data. It reflects relationships, responsibilities, and stories tied to sacred and cultural places. We co-design Ops Ready with each community because no two tribes share the same histories, land-based responsibilities, or cultural needs. The platform documents cultural uses, tracks fire risks, and supports response planning and organizes environmental data, all in a way that aligns Indigenous sovereignty with strict reporting structures tribes are expected to meet. Funding directly supports the capacity required to deploy these systems, the time, the training, and people needed to ensure the work succeeds on the ground. With proper investment, communities can move from intention to implementation, strengthening their ability to document, prepare, and respond during fire season. And this is why the solution matters. The gap between cultural priorities and agency expectations isn't shrinking. Fire seasons are intensifying, and funding requirements are getting stricter. Tribal lands are disproportionately wildfire hotspots, not because tribes lack knowledge, but because they lack the resources and capital needed to operationalize the knowledge at scale. Limited funding also forces fire crews to avoid adjacent federal forest lands, leaving cultural sites vulnerable and unmanaged. At the heart of Ops Ready is this commitment, innovation grounded in sovereignty and partnership built on trust. To sustain and expand Indigenous-led fire management, we are actively seeking strategic introductions to partners who can help accelerate deployment across tribal communities. We are especially looking for utility infrastructure partners and conservation-focused agencies seeking collaborative wildfire mitigation strategies that honor tribal sovereignty, and also while looking for insurance and risk capital investors interested in pre-disaster mitigation conservation financing models that center Indigenous governance and reduce long-term wildfire liabilities. By aligning tribal sovereignty with practical requirements of fire management, Ops Ready creates actionable pathways for tribes to protect cultural landscapes, reduce wildfire risks, and build safer futures for their community. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the Indigenous Future Society team. So you've got the QR code there, you've got information, we put information in the chat as well. And now we've got a few minutes for questions. Does anyone have any burning questions for the team? If so, feel free to come off mute and ask it. I do have an immediate question as well. Okay, James, do you want to go first, actually?
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I'm James Rowley. I'm one of the reviewers for this work. You mentioned tribal data sovereignty, and I'm real interested in sort of your governance model and how you're dealing with your data, both if you collect it, whether it's tribally derived data or data that's open source or open. And so, what's your plans for when you start collecting data? How are you going to sustain that? Is there a plan for that? And then also, how, in your view, how do you fund those kind of things so that that data is seen as an asset rather than just the output from a science project? Thank you.
Hayden, do you want to take this one? Or Louis?
Yeah. So data sovereignty is very important to us, and it can be how do I put this? Every tribe has a different priority when it comes to that. And so for us, we really want to tailor exactly, depending on the sensitivity of the data, we want to be able to kind of protect that in any way. So one important thing to us is making sure that tribes get to maintain and control their data, decide who that's shared with, when that's shared, and also the ability to, revoke access to data once shared. So yeah, I don't know if that directly answers your question, but
one of the things that we're helping to also to try to protect that data too is to build our own server and have it on like tribal lands or in tribal hands too. So on our own in our own room, so that if any tribes come over and say, hey, I actually want to revoke my data today, like right now, we're able to go into our server, pull that actual hard drive, and literally hand it over to them. And we want to have that buffer so it's not like on the cloud. We don't want to rely on cloud at all. Actually, that's what we're not doing, is not having anything on the cloud, just because we don't have control of that data at that point. Whereas if it's on our systems, we have access to that, and so to those the tribes. So I hope that answered your question, James.
So we've got about a minute left, but could you talk a little bit about the recent grant you got from CAL FIRE to expand work to other tribes? I know
I
it's really exciting to see the scaling of the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I think Rebecca is on here, and I think she can. Rebecca, can I call you out?
You can. I'm the program executive. And effectively, what we did is we took our Fire Grand Challenge language and expanded it to, rather than working solely with the Washoe, we expanded it to 5 other communities within the Sierra Nevada region. So then CAL FIRE is very interested in what and how tribes are looking to identify wildfire risks for themselves, as well as identify ways to get in and out of the community safely, and then coordinate that back with CAL FIRE. But each tribe will be able to decide what they want to share with CAL FIRE. Importantly, we're also using this fund to create art and ways of reimagining safety through tribal lenses. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, and thanks to the entire Indigenous Futures Society team. It's been amazing to see the work you've done and how you've gotten that vote of confidence to continue it at a bigger level as well. And then I'm now have the pleasure of passing it off to Envisioning Labs and San Juan Islands Conservation District to present on their innovation.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay and see my screen, full screen? I see Liam, you're giving me a thumbs up. Fantastic. My name is Oscar Malpica, and on behalf of Envisioning Labs and San Juan Islands Conservation District, I'm the CEO of Envisioning Labs. I'm here to present Cinderguard. Okay, so the most dangerous fire is the one you think is out. Let me start with a little bit of a story. In 2022, a pile burned in New Mexico, like dormant, under snow for months. It looked cold, it felt cold, but in the spring of that year, it reignited. It became the Calf Canyon fire. That single, quote unquote, invisible fire resulted in 5.45 billion with a B in taxpayer liability. My name, once again, is Oscar Malpica. I'm with Envision Labs, and with my partners, we are here to solve the physics of that failure. So you see, we face a paradox. To stop the mega fires, we need to burn more land, scale beneficial fires, so to speak. But really, we can't because the liability risk is uncapped. The current technology, satellites and drones, cannot see through soil. They miss the zombie fires smoldering down in the roots. This leaves us reliant on cold trailing, literally firefighters on their knees, feeling the dirt with their bare hands. It is subjective, it is dangerous, and it is legally indefensible. So the cost of this uncertainty is massive, economically, environmentally, and obviously humanly. Economically, a single escape fire can cost billions, and manual patrol can go up to 17,000 sometimes, per group per day. Environmentally, once again, escaped wildfires emit 10 times the particulate matter of those of prescribed burns, erasing fully carbon gains. And obviously human safety, right? We're forcing crews to walk through ash pits, hitting on the ground opens, essentially. So enter Cinderguard. We don't just watch, we certify. Our system uses DTS, distributed temperature sensing, a rugged fiber optic cable laid directly on the containment line. It reads the temperature every single meter continuously. If a root is smoldering 3 feet down, the conductive heat hits our fiber, and we will know. We pair this with an optical AI trailer for surface overwatch. It is, in essence, Farland in a box. Now, our experience with CXL, we failed with point sensors, and that's just the reality. It's a pivot born from the field. Through this challenge, we deployed point sensors with the San Juan Islands Conservation District, and we learned a hard lesson. Point sensors leave gaps, fire creeps between them, and so we pivoted to fiber optics. And we expect that this will rely on 100% linear coverage. We're moving from guessing to knowing. And the product value that we're putting here as a value proposition is a digital certificate of containment. This will be our killer app in a way. It's not just the hardware, it's the data. So what we expect is for Syndergaard to generate a digital certificate of containment, which would be an auditable time-stamped record proving that the ground has been cold for 48 hours or more, depending on the fire crew. This will be the golden ticket, we think, for insurers. It will turn a gross negligence liability into a verifiable, hopefully, insurable event. And to do this, we expect to pursue a hardware as a service business model. Agencies, that are cash strapped, so we use hardware as a service. We shift the cost from CapEx to OpEx. In fact, deploying Syndergaard, we expect to be cheaper than deploying a single day 20-person main crew. We're targeting the Pacific Northwest as our 30 million beachhead to prove this model. And the ask is seed money and links. I see here Wildfire is here, so definitely we want to talk to. I saw Len. I think in the audience we'll love to chat with you, Len, to see if Syndergaard will be good for a trial and pilot in your space. And I'll leave it at that. Obviously, we have the team ourselves, and we provide a deep tech. The ground truth is being provided by San Juan Conservation District, where we're able to deploy and learn from them. And Misty West is one of our partners here in Vancouver, Canada, for AI Vision. If you're interested, please give us a shout. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Oscar. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for Oscar, the rest of the Envisioning Labs team, and San Juan Islands Conservation District?
By the way, Liam, I'm not really sure if the other speakers know this, but I couldn't really see the timer. I don't know how well I did.
You did perfect. You nailed it.
Okay.
Just had the innate sense.
I guess.
So one question for you, Oscar. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have coming up in the next few months and a little bit more about how people on this call could help?
For sure. So we expect to put the first field trial because we pivoted. I think it's going to be next week, as a matter of fact. So we're going to be in San Juan Islands once again. We're going back with this new version of this innovation. So we'll have actual data, by January. Coming January and New Year, we expect to actually actively start fundraising. That seed money is one aspect that we're planning to land, as well as here in Canada, we're applying for other programs. And I think I saw my fellow Canadians from NorthX also here, so we're applying for a call there with them that will provide the funding, to actually ruggedize, the system. And by the end of the year, 2026, hopefully we'll have version 0.1 that we can deploy pre-commercially, in a way.
Sounds like it's going to be a pretty busy year.
Oh yeah, it will be busy for sure. That's one of the reasons why we're looking into your connections with Wildfire specifically. I know they have an R&D team that look into new technologies, so we're interested in having a chat with them.
Sounds good. And I see we have Kai from San Juan Islands Conservation District online as well. Anything you want to add from the partner community perspective?
Just that it's been a pleasure to work with Envisioning Labs. We also had an escape fire at a smaller scale than the one that Oscar spoke to, but we've actually had two. I'm in our work truck right now. We're out in the field, not burning right today. But anyways, it's just a very pressing need for organizations like ourselves and those that are trying to get fire back in the landscape. Liability is our biggest challenge, and so we're I think the best illustration of the benefit of this is that we're planning to use it instantaneously, like as every part of our fire operations moving forward. So we're seeing the benefits already and excited for what this could be at scale.
Thanks, Kai. We've got about 1 more minute for questions. I will say, I think this collaboration is such a beautiful example of the Fire Grant Challenge's matchmaking process, where you met through the process and then you kind of see how things evolved and adapted in the field, and the direct learnings from Kai and his team and the San Juan Islands community that helped inform the development process.
Liam,
So
I
it's
see
been a really
Goulet
pleasure to
has
watch
a
the journey.
question. I saw you raising your hand.
I was
Yes,
trying to
Len?
find the button, but I couldn't find the button. So I just raised my hand. Exactly. So my question is, you said you reached out to our R&D folks over here at CAL FIRE. Did you get a response?
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh,
not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
So
That's what we want to do through
can
you, hopefully.
reach out to me, and then I'll put you in touch with our R&D.
Fantastic.
Yep, I can do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. And that's about time. Thank you very much, Len. Thank you, Oscar and Kai, and the rest of the team.
Thanks.
Now for our next presentation, we have Plumas Wood Fiber and Earthworm Soil Factory, now Emergence.
Yes, hello. My name is Jeff Grief. I am the founder and CEO of Plumas Wood Fiber, which is a project that will produce horticultural potting substrate from forest biomass. Now, why would we want to do something like that? Well, we have a problem in the forests, which is that we have severe forest fires due to excess biomass from doing fire suppression for 100 years. We need to remove that excess biomass, and when we do, we know that it reduces the forest fire intensity and its effects. But it is very expensive to remove that biomass. So by commercializing the biomass, we can provide another means of removing more from the forests. Another problem we have is that in the horticultural industry, they need substitutes for peat moss. Peat moss has been their primary potting ingredient for many years, but there are problems with it now. It has greenhouse gas issues, it's expensive, and the supply can be erratic. So the solution is to process wood chips into potting substrate. Let's take that excess biomass and process it into something that the horticultural community needs and wants. This has been done in Europe for the last 2 decades. It's been produced in the U.S. East Coast for 8 or 10 years, but not done in the Western U.S. in any scale yet. The benefits of this: it uses the biomass for fire safety, it provides jobs in the forest, and it helps with watershed and forest protection. In horticulture, it's a good substitute for peat that's inexpensive and available and sustainable. So the value proposition: why are we importing peat moss when we've got plenty of material sitting right here in California to begin with? Less expensive than peat, less transportation cost, reliable local supply, sustainably sourced, and assists with forest management. The basic business model for this idea is to make a factory that will produce wood fiber substrate by the truckload and sell it to horticulture at competitive pricing. And we would plan to process about 10,000 tons a year starting and expand more later. What is the market size for horticultural growing media? Globally, it's 5 billion a year. In the US, it's 2.5 billion a year, the whole US. California, about 70 million a year, about 100 million a year on the west coast of the United States. But growing media are shipped internationally. China imports $100 million worth of peat every year, a lot of it from Northern Europe. That's 13,000 miles through the Suez Canal. So maybe they'd like an alternative. Wood fiber substrate production is expected to increase tenfold in the coming decades. That's from a university in the Netherlands. Plumas Wood Fiber milestones and needs. We have accomplished analytic research at North Carolina State University under peer review, currently under peer review, which validates the use of the material. That research turned out well. We've done a thorough feasibility study detailing the economics of the project. We've gotten 5 pre-seed grants awarded to about $250,000. We've got growth trials underway, and we're looking at the possibility of co-locating with an electrical cogen plant. So funding for startup on this project. We need a total capex of $6 to $7 million to set up the factory. We're looking at some large-scale USDA grants, as well as CAL FIRE and U.S. Forest Service Wood Innovation grants, and hoping that those will fund perhaps half of the project. As well, we're looking at USDA guaranteed loan programs, where you can qualify for a loan with a commercial bank through the guaranteed loan program. We're hoping for that. However, those loans need collateral. They want to see collateral down payment before they will issue a loan. So we're looking at possible seed funding, PRI, program-related investment from the R.K. Mellon Foundation. That's not confirmed yet, but that is a possibility. And we will be inquiring of other foundations about possible PRIs and to impact investors if anyone has any particular interest in a project such as this. And hopefully we will begin project construction in 2026. Plumas Wood Fiber, innovating where forestry meets horticulture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. We've got some time for questions now. And I do want to flag that Plumas Wood Fiber and Jeff's amazing work has just been featured by the Forest Business Alliance, who did a case study on him. It gets into some of the econometric analysis, gets into the amazing potential of the innovation. And so if you haven't already, check that out. We reposted it on our socials, and you can find it at the Forest Business Alliance as well.
Hey,
Any
Jeff,
questions?
this is Tom Quigley from Superorganism. Question for you on how you are intending on getting some of that woody biomass off the forest land, doing tree thinning and getting some of the small diameter timber, and also some of the kind of low hanging ladder fuels is kind of a pain point for foresters, I understand. So getting that to the factory, kind of where do you all play in that? Do you partner or do you do it yourselves?
No, we would partner. We're right in the middle of Plumas National Forest here in Quincy, California, and the fuels managers on Plumas National Forest have plans to be treating hundreds of thousands of acres in the coming decade or so. So most of the material that we would get would come from service contracts, from Forest Service management projects, and then I think we would probably also get some from the local sawmill, which certainly has a ready supply. Then there will be other public lands, private lands projects that could also supply, but I think it would come from Forest Service projects.
Jeff, I'll jump in there on that one for Tom as well. We're down in Butte County, and we ran the pre-commercialization trials that you saw in those photos. Essentially, we get paid to receive feedstock, and we and other facilities in our region essentially get backed up. We turn it into soil, but there is absolutely no shortage of it. In a lot of cases, you can be paid to receive the feedstock itself. So hope that helps.
The Forest Service, yeah, the Forest Service is looking for creative ways. They want to get the stuff off the landscape. Exactly how it's going to happen will be kind of touch and go and seasonal, I think. But there's certainly a lot of material and a big motivation to remove it off the landscape.
Cole?
Hey there. Thanks so much for the awesome presentation, Jeff. And I'm wondering what workforce size y'all are envisioning for this factory, and whether you have any plans for particular workforce programs for the community, or whether you envision the workforce coming from just Quincy area or farther around.
Yeah, the factory itself would employ 4 to 6 or 7 people, and then as we expand, we also might co-locate with a cogen plant, in which case there would be more employees. Also, this would encourage more work out in the forests where they're doing the management projects, because they'll need more people to chip and ship, etc. So I'm planning to hire mostly in the Quincy area, but we will advertise broadly to look for qualified people that want to participate. Um, and we will do the training that is necessary as we get the project going and start running the machines.
Excited to hear that. Community scale is always a good way to go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff, and thank you, Joel. Thanks for the awesome questions. And once again, too, these people will be at the Solution Summit event. We've got their emails in the chat, and so don't let the conversation end here. If you have further questions, comments, any recommendations or suggestions, then please feel free to reach out or reach out to us, and we can connect you. And with that, I'm happy to pass it to FireSwarm and Cheslatta Carrier Nation.
Thank you, Liam. Great to be here. FireSwarm Solutions is bringing the power of ultra heavy lift drones for active wildfire suppressions brought to communities and local firefighters to increase their ability to fight fires. My name is Alex Dillery. I'm the FireSwarm Solutions CEO based here in BC. My background is in aerospace engineering as a pilot and a search and rescue member.
And I am Jessie Jack. I am a Cheslatta Carrier Nation member, as well as a project coordinator for Cheslatta Contracting LP.
As we know, the problem of wildland firefighting is getting bigger as the years go by. In 2023, 22% of global CO2 emissions were attributed directly to Canadian wildfires. It's a very personal story for us, losing our property, and as an aerospace engineer, it was our duty to put together a team to address this problem. You're on mute, Jessie.
This map shows the extent of the wildfires that have just devastated our territory since 2010. So throughout these events, our people were repeatedly denied the right to stay and protect our own land. As First Nations people, we tend to be overlooked or denied essential services during emergencies that directly threaten our homes, cultural sites, and our future. So under UNDRIP, we have the right to self-determination to protect our lands and to participate fully in decisions that affect our safety. So for too long, wildfire response systems have operated around us and not with us. So this would include the right and ability to detect, respond to, and fight wildfires on our own territory. So the Cheslatta and FireSwarm partnership came naturally. My colleague OJ had an assignment from the nation to find a solution to bring back to the community for fighting these wildfires. So for us, FireSwarm is that solution. So our partnership would bring economic development, contracting with local industries, capacity building and job creation, training of local resources, which right now we don't have the ability to have that training to fight the fires. So, and then of course, strategic pre-positioning of fire suppression assets.
As we all know, wildland firefighting from the air is really limited in terms of nighttime operations. It is extremely risky for pilots. Low visibility and VFR conditions are risky as well. And there are simply not enough pilots to sit in seats and actually action these fires, especially at night. So we're losing a massive portion of the day where we could have a 10x efficacy ratio of nighttime drops, which is leading to billions of dollars in insurable losses. What we are doing at FireSwarm Solutions is we are creating the swarm algorithm, partnering with ultra heavy lift drones able to carry up to 400 kilograms of water, powered by jet engines that can be brought to a fire on the back of trucks. The business model is that we are selling the machines as a value-added reseller as we include our fire mission kit. We are providing services, training, and a parts pooling arrangement to our customers, and also the license to our swarm algorithm that allows multiple machines to fly together. We have a bit of competition. Seneca in the US just announced a big seed round. They're using small electric drones. On the other end of the spectrum, There's Rain.Aero with Sikorsky and Lockheed Martin that are enabling the Black Hawk helicopter. And we sit squarely in the middle, where we are using smaller turbine-driven drones that are able to carry significant amount of water with enough endurance to actually make a damage here. So nighttime suppression is super risky for pilots, and our solution is needed now. Operating drone swarms will reduce insurable losses and make sure that values of risk can be protected. And we are much cheaper to operate than other helicopters. Since our accident in BC here in Gun Lake, we had a wildland firefight that took out our community of Gun Lake. Also in Burns Lake, there was a massive issue. Since then, we are now an X Prize semi-finalist. We've contracted with Cheslatta to make sure that we are bringing this solution to market with them. And we've raised some money, and we are now a NATO Diana partner as of this morning to expand our solution into the military. Through the X Prize, Conservation X, and a number of funding sources, we're able to make a difference here. We are currently raising $4 million in our seed round. We are asking for introductions for pilot projects, and we are going to be spending that money on R&D, commercial scaling, and operating and general working capital. I think I'm out of time, so any questions?
I have a question. The delivery system of the drones, is it just like in the pictures, is it just a bucket drop?
That is currently what we're working on. The Bambi bucket that we're using is the 300 kilogram bucket, and it's with the quadcopter, it's able to operate for about 1.5 hours.
Okay, and so that's about 100 gallons?
That's about right, yeah. So you can see here, I'm just going to bring up the site of ACC Innovation. It usually has a little video going. So this was our X Prize semifinals in Sweden, and our software automated this quadcopter able to carry, I think we had a 250 kilogram per drop. So the system was able to automatically pick up, fly to, drop water on it, fire, and then come back 2 circuits, come back and land with no human intervention.
Thanks, Alex. One question for you. Is this able to operate in the same airspace as human-flown helicopters and successfully avoid and navigate around?
Great question. Right now, working with Transport Canada, we have received a Special Flight Operations Certificate to operate daytime, nighttime, in Class F restricted airspace, the equivalent of a TFR in the US, and also Class G uncontrolled airspace. What we are seeing, though, is in discussions with BC Wildfire and Alberta Wildfire, we believe that the entry into the market is truly in nighttime operations only to test out our concept. And in time, we'll then be able to move closer and closer to the WUI and also ensure that ADSB in and out is integrated to make sure that we're able to operate with other helicopters and tankers.
Thanks, Tom and Len, for the questions. I think we have one from Marin as well.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. You mentioned you were looking for pilot locations. Are there certain kinds of landscapes or habitats that you're seeking in particular for this?
We live here in Squamish, BC. The coastal mountain range is not ideal. So that's why we're quite excited actually to be working with Cheslatta in the Burns Lake area. The topography, I would call it more of a blue square instead of a double black diamond. So that's certainly the type of undulating hills that we would be looking to start off with. The double black diamond, we believe, is a few years down the road.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions for FireSwarm and Cheslatta Carrier Limited Partnership? Marin?
Sorry, I accidentally pressed my button.
No worries at all. Well, sounds good. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much, Jesse. It's really amazing to see the progress that you've made in the last 9 months, and excited to see how it keeps going next year.
Thank you for
And
your time.
of course, so I'm going to kick us off. We've got a lot of great content today. We've got 7 amazing finalist teams we're going to be hearing from. And so thanks for joining for finalist pitch day 2. This is the second one. There was one yesterday. If you weren't able to make it, you can tune in to the live stream on our LinkedIn, or we're going to be sending out the recording as well. A lot of the different audience members were saying the pitches couldn't get better than that, but we're going to see today, there's 7 finalists, how it goes. And so just to give a little bit of background, you've likely seen some of these slides before if you've been tuning into our events, but we started all the way back on August 18th or August 8th back last year. It's been about 16 months. We had an open application call, then a novel matchmaking process, which matched different communities with technological developers to co-develop these technologies and test them in the field. And then each team received $50,000 to participate in a 9-month field testing and acceleration program. And so they've been working on their product development, market validation, their scaling, impact, and all different elements of scaling these potentially transformative technologies. And so now we're getting into this last phase. We're leading up to the final event, and also we're going to see the results of what they've been working on for the last 9 months. And so before we get into these pitches, I'm just going to flag a couple things for the audience. You may have heard this before as well. But first off, we've got the final event coming up. This is an in-person event, the Solution Summit. It's the grand prize ceremony, but it's so much more than that. We're going to be bringing together different funders, thought leaders, Indigenous leaders, and community leaders, people who are pivotal to this intersection of the space that we're working in together. And so if you're interested in joining that, or if you have partners or other contacts who might benefit from coming to that event, let us know. We'll add them to the invite list and can send that over to you. And also, it's going to be an exclusive day at the Oakland Museum of California, and you're going to have exclusive access to the Good Fire exhibit, which features some of the Indigenous cultural fire practitioners who help scope the challenge. So it's a really cool cross section there as well. One last plug, if you're interested in helping choose the winners of the Fire Grant Challenge, and if you have some expertise that matches that list on the right, then reach out to us. You can reach out to us at Fire Conservation X Labs. We're going to put these different links in the chat as well. And so if you think that you can help provide a valuable perspective in terms of evaluating the impact of these innovations, let us know, reach out, and you can potentially join that group. And so with that, we have our order today for the pitches. We have 7 amazing different innovator teams working across Western North America on all different issues of the fire cycle and the fire challenge that we face. So we're going to start off with coalitions and collaboratives. Each team is going to have about 5 minutes to pitch, and then after that, we're going to have 4 minutes for questions for each team. So get your questions ready, your comments ready, any observations that you want to tell them. You can put them in the chat too, and we can voice them over, or please feel free after that 5 minutes to come off mute and ask them that question directly as well. And so with that, I'm going to pass it over to coalitions and collaboratives and Skeena Watershed Conservation Coalition.
All right, we're good.
Looks great.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. I'm Jeff Ravies, the Chief Science and Technology Officer of the NGO Coalitions and Collaboratives. With me is our team partner, Anissa Watson, Director of Program Execution at the Skeena Watershed Conservation Coalition. The problem. Western forests in the American continent are at increasing risk of catastrophic fire, a problem that is ever increasing beyond human control. This is, in fact, the impetus behind the Fire Grant Challenge. Climate change, driven by excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, increases both the frequency and severity of these fires. When the forest burns, it releases even more carbon dioxide. This is a vicious cycle. Our solution is altering that cycle, not breaking it. Everything nature does, it does in circles. We provide a tailored fungal inoculation technology that accelerates biomass decomposition beyond current manual and mechanical methods. We have pioneered the practical industrial scale application of conditioned fungi that can rapidly transform biomass into a nutrient-rich, fire-resistant compost. We can reduce biomass by up to 90% in 3 to 5 years versus 20 to 70 years in the wild. This takes potential fuel out of the fire cycle and returns it to the soil cycle, reducing costs and preserving vital nutrients. This process is a set it and forget it. We offer the acceleration of a natural process, safe, clean, and carbon positive. The market. Biomass is predicted to continue as a multi-billion-dollar annual market beyond the turn of the century. The U.S. forestry sector alone is already operating with a hidden cost of over $4 billion annually. This market will certainly grow as larger and fires punctuate the need to take forest preservation and restoration as a societal priority. This is already driving change. The potential of other important ecological remedies using fungi all but guarantees virtually endless new markets. Here we model treatment directly on inaccessible logs. Our business model. We will implement a hybrid nonprofit for-profit business. Primary production facilities with a franchise distribution model. We make the syrup and local distributors provide the final product. Satellites, franchisees, can be cold fire focused or mushroom farms looking to expand their markets. This hybrid seeks investment from grants and for-profit investors. At $5 million to set up a hub, we anticipate break-even operation in 3 years and profit in 5 years. Financial impacts. Grab a good share of that $4 billion annual market by reducing the cost and fuel use of current mitigation practices. As of today, there is no competition, and we have over a decade of research under our belts. Our technology is readiness level TRL9. Environmental impacts. Reduced emissions, preserve nutrients in the ecosystem, improve soil health. We utilize the biomass anticipated and produced by current and future fire mitigation prescriptions. Social impacts. We enrich local communities. Decentralization creates more good jobs over wider areas. Truly model equitable partnerships. Sustainability. Being based on natural processes, our solution is the ultimate in sustainability. We are ready to reduce fire risk and post-fire restoration today. Our innovation is firmly aligned with UN Climate Action Goals SDG 13 and SDG 15. I will turn it over to Anissa.
Our Fire Grand Challenge team consists of the Gitxsan community of SIG-NAL, Skeena Watershed Conservation Coalition, and coalitions and collaboratives. Cold fire aligns with traditional Indigenous values of land stewardship and generational leadership, making it an important piece of territorial stewardship planning. Our main stakeholders are land managers, Indigenous title holders, forestry service providers, policymakers, utilities, NGOs, and landowners. Our partners are foundations, universities, foresters and forestry organizations, mycologists, soil scientists, as well as communities of all types. Our next steps are to continue to obtain funding, continue expanding into new applications and carry out more projects each year, and we will continue to present at more conferences and release more studies that validate our models. And we invite you to join us.
Thank you so much, Anissa. Thank you so much, Jeff. Now I want everyone in the crowd to take a second, think about what they heard, and then ask them your hardest hitting questions. Or any other questions you have.
We'll take softball questions too.
Jeff, quick question. You mentioned that like commercial mushroom growers may be able to participate in this. How would you see a local commercial mushroom grower participating? Would they be expanding the, please explain.
Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. So basically the cycle is we collect native mushrooms so that we don't risk bringing in an invasive species. We use generational conditioning to train them to target the actual material we want them to eat. This training takes about 22 weeks. We can then create master cultures that we can send to a mushroom farm that they can expand. They can take basically every 10-pound bag we give them and make 100 pounds. If we send them 10 pounds, they can make 1,000 pounds. They can use that then to rot 1,000 tons of waste biomass.
So they'd be like working with the local resource conservation district or whoever who wants to remove materials. They'd basically be expanding it, giving it to them, and then they take it out in the forest and apply it. Is that the idea?
That is correct. And all of our satellites will be trained on the different application methods and the best practices, things like spawning rate of inoculation and placement within piles, how to sector them out and set them up.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question on, you mentioned invasive species. I'm glad that you're screening for that. And when you say you collect native mushrooms, how do you, with the concept that you're shipping to, in different places, what might be native in one region may be non-native in another, or even if it's native, a shift in the kind of number of those biologics that are out there can have consequences for the environment that we haven't seen before. How do you kind of do that risk assessment of moving things around like that?
Well, for one thing, we would prefer the mushrooms used in any project come within a 25-mile radius of that project. 50-mile radius is acceptable. 100-mile radius, we will have to debate. We are doing DNA sequencing, ITS barcoding, looking at all of our organisms and all the organisms we collect. There's not a whole lot of information on fungal biodiversity, but a lot is being done right now by the Fungal Diversity Project and through iNaturalist, and we work through iNaturalist too, to see what the genetic variations are. In terms of upsetting the balance of a local frequency of an organism, we've been looking into that, and that was kind of like written on that card that we didn't talk about, our last card. It was like, if they read it, it'd be cool. Maybe they'll ask us about it, which you did. So we've had over a decade, and we've been looking for this. We have not seen them spread. And of course, the hope is that by using a local organism, all the natural suppressors are there in the environment to keep them from going out of control. We work only with cloning and with spawns. When it comes to reproduction by sporulation, it's a hit or miss, billion to one dice roll that it's going to take off from there. And another thing is we tend to, in our design, we want to make sure, since these are wood rotting saprophytic organisms, we want to make sure there's mineral soil around the area that we are inoculating, because they can't transmit themselves through soil.
Yeah, so right on. That's awesome, Jeff, and thank you.
And thank you, Marin, for the great question. Same with you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Anissa. I was saying this yesterday as well. If you have further questions, further comments, we've been putting their emails in the chat. Also, you can connect with them at the Solution Summit event. So please keep thinking about different thoughts that you want to share with the challenge finalists. And next, we rearranged the order a little bit because some stormy weather's moving in down in Central America, but we are going to pass it over to ISFMI and BIOMASA AC.
Thanks, Liam. Let me know if you can hear me. Rain is starting to pour, so yeah. All good? Oh, good. All right, so thank you so much. I'm Fanny Tricon. I represent the International Savanna Fire Management Initiative, an Australian charity that is looking at scaling up the Australian experience with an innovation that was developed there that's called emissions reduction through traditional fire management. It all started in Australia around trying to address the problem that is very similar to elsewhere in the world, the increase of late dry season wildfires, mostly from fire suppression policies that led to the loss of traditional fire knowledge and practices, and especially in ecosystem like savannas that actually need to burn properly. But also identifying and acknowledging that fire suppression and fire management practices are quite expensive. So about 20 years ago in Australia, they looked for solutions. A group of scientists worked hand in hand with Indigenous communities to show that by restoring their practices, they could actually reduce wildfires. And then combining this traditional fire knowledge with modern technology and science, they created a methodology that could actually quantify the emissions reduction from those practices and turn this into a carbon abatement methodology, so generating carbon credits to be able to finance fire management. It was quite successful, very successful in Australia, and then it ended up being adopted by the Australian government as a standard methodology. So it helped not only revitalizing traditional fire management and practices, but also to make the shift between a costly fire suppression approach to a self-financing model for communities. The impact of these innovations are quite wide, not only the obvious ecological and climate benefits that we can see from implementing good fire on the ground, but also all the social, economic, and cultural benefits coming from revitalizing Indigenous fire knowledge, but also creating those sources of income for communities through carbon markets. It also proved to be highly scalable and replicable. It all started in a pilot site in Australia and then spread in Northern Australia and similar areas. But also around 2015, studies started to be made to show that the global potential for such methodology elsewhere outside of Australia. So there is a market opportunity for something like this. There is always a demand for nature-based credits. There is an increase in interest in fire-based avoided emissions. So far, there is no methodologies outside of Australia for based on traditional fire management. And those practices highly align with global policies and priorities. The business model that IFSFMI is running is based on upfront catalytic funding to finance the necessary research, feasibility studies, and capacity building for adapting and testing the methodology, working also in finding strategic partnerships, also developing methodologies that to be evaluated and approved under global standards to open markets to sell those credits globally. So far, there are two that are being evaluated, one under the Paris Agreement and another one under the Vera standard. All of this aim to aim for the long-term sustainability of fire management for communities. The team is very diverse. It's based on collaborating with Indigenous communities, experts, scientists, technicians, governments, all of this creating a very strong global network for this initiative globally. And our trajectory and next step is to develop feasibility studies in areas that could be eligible for such methodology and starting pilot implementations. We have a successful pilot in Botswana, and also thanks to the Fire Grand Challenge, we're able to start a pilot evaluation in Mexico this year. So here's our call to action. We're seeking partners and investors to help us support this initiative and scaling a new generation of high integrity fire management projects. And here's some links, emails, if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fanny. And if you're interested in a deeper dive into ISFMI's work and their partner community's work at BIOMASA AC, we recently had one of the leaders from the community side on our Indigenous Fire Stewardship webinar. And so it's really cool to hear from them on that. And so do we have any questions from the audience for Fanny and the team? Tom?
I'd love to hear
In terms of the methodology that was used in Australia, was that a jurisdictional sort of internal to Australia cap and trade style offset scheme? And if so, what are some of the key things that you think that you'll really need to crack as you move into the voluntary carbon market?
I'm so very sorry. Can you type this into the chat? I can't hear anything, Mr. Rain.
No problem, sure.
Yes. It's the issue with living in the tropics with screen windows.
I think one other interesting element of the transition from Australia to other contexts would be some of the ecological adaptation as well. So moving from savanna ecosystems to forest ecosystems would also be interested to hear about that. But Tom was mainly asking about, and I don't know if this will help because I'm just repeating it again, but how it's going to be shifting from the Australian compliance market or whatever context is there to a more voluntary carbon market in other jurisdictions.
Yeah, so they're adapting the methodology and they've already submitted those to, let's see, compliance options. Moving to voluntary markets. Yeah, that's also not my specialty on the carbon markets. That's something I can check with my colleagues. I'm more on the feasibility study side, but yeah, they've been working on adapting those to meet the standards and requirements for the different standard they can apply for, so like the Paris Agreement and Vera examples, but we'll be also looking at how to create methodologies that better fits the difference in the world and accessing other markets. For example, the one like as Liam was mentioning in Mexico, we have this whole phase two. We're going to adapt this methodology with the context in Mexico, but also outside of savannas, because we're also testing this for the fire adapted ecosystems. So it's going to take a while, but yeah, we'll be developing those methodologies as best as we can, so we can open doors for other areas worldwide.
Jeff?
Yeah, I noticed that your registry agency was Vera, and I just wanted to point out that Vera has been criticized greatly for creating junk carbon credits. And I don't know if anybody else has started working on a protocol for indigenous burning, but I think if you guys can, you should expand and see if you can find other registries that would have appropriate protocols to expand, because a lot of big corporations in America have been burned by Vera. So just be cautious.
Thank you. I appreciate the tip. That's also why we're not sticking up to one standard. Like right now, we are also trying the new Paris Agreement with Article 6.4. That seems also very promising.
We've got a good comment in the chat from Tom there with the connection from isometric as well.
Thank you. And happy reach out by email, definitely to chat more and have further discussion or question. I've also linked with my colleagues who are more also looking on the successful pilots side in Africa, where they have more advanced already methodologies working on to adapt this there.
Well, thank you so much, Fanny. I'll say from our side of thing, when we were doing the landscape analysis and talking to partners and different allied researchers, it was pretty apparent how far ahead Australia was in some ways in terms of combining carbon markets and cultural fire. So really excited to see how the progress or the project progresses. And with that, we're about at time for this section. And so we're going to move to Flash Forest and Grand County Wildfire Council.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yep, and we can see your
Perfect.
screen now as well.
Great, I'll just maximize it. Hi everyone, I'm Mark Aptohan, Innovation and Business Development Lead at Flash Forest, and I'm here with my colleague Jessica Ron, Executive Director from Grand County Wildfire Council.
Hi everyone.
For the past 6 years, Flash Forest has focused on post-wildfire restoration And through our work with Grand County, CXL, and other communities and innovators, we've evolved holistic future wildfire prevention and forest adaptation technologies. Much of our work supports Indigenous and rural communities recovering from severe burns, and our goal is simple: rebuild healthier, wildfire-resilient forests.
We are all aware of what the extraordinary problem is, just as with the East Troublesome Fire that took place 5 years ago in Grand County, burning a total of 194,000 acres. The burn scars are a constant reminder of what has happened and what can happen again in the future.
Lodge Forest and Grand County are finalists for the Fire Grand Challenge. Our tech overview will go over 3 classes of innovation to help at-risk regions reduce and recover from high-severity burns. The software goes over how and where to plant, focusing on maximizing germination and minimizing future mortality. Our software maps forests through LiDAR and multispectral imaging, and internal silviculture experts focus on wildfire prevention through a data-driven lens, pre- and post-planting prescriptions. Our hardware focuses on deployment. With drones, we can plant over 800,000 seed pods per day in areas unsafe or inaccessible to human tree planters. Conversely, we plant alongside both hand and shovel tree planters and machines. Hand planting is estimated to be about 3 times more expensive than our solution in hard-to-reach places, with comparable survivability. And finally, our seed pod biotechnology brings years of plant science research and development and efforts to increase resistance to drought and other disturbances, with a focus on biodiversity and increasing resilience for the new forest. All of this combined brings a holistic approach: where, how, and what to plant.
It really does take a village. Grand County Wildfire Council will continue our partnership with Flash Forest, with our project's outcomes benefiting communities beyond our own in Canada and the US. Our project will implement knowledge sharing across borders and proactive rapid ecological restoration into a single scalable prevention and adaptation system.
This project will cumulatively span 150,000 hectares in at least 4 provinces and states. That's about 2 Singapores, bringing significant carbon emissions reductions, sequestration, and protection.
In our role as community partner, we will utilize Grand County's Community Wildfire Protection Plan, our partnerships with Flash Forest and our community, to accelerate recovery, reduce fuel loads in the future, and generally strengthen wildfire resilience.
So how do we fund this innovation? Flash Forest has runway for 32 months. From a co-funding perspective, we are seeking $750,000 from partners, which Flash Forest and Grand County Wildfire Council will match to accelerate our field demos, validation with our partners for 2026 and beyond. The investment builds on funding already aligned with CXL Phase 1 and other funding supports that you see. We work with communities, forestry, and governments to prevent and adapt to wildfire. Our tech is at TRL 6.7 with commercial pilots underway. Through this project, we expect to reach TRL 8 and full
As an
deployment
early
readiness.
adopter, we see other communities and organizations benefiting. In 2025, Flash Forest visited Grand County to establish baseline seed pod observations and display their drone technology.
With that information, we'll conduct wildfire risk mapping and analysis, restoration work, and outreach with the community to combat wildfire issues in 2026 and beyond. When we find out whether we move to Phase 2 of the Fire Grant Challenge, we are prepared to match that funding with existing funds. Environmentally, we can sequester and protect carbon assets in the megatons.
And we will improve watershed, forest, and wildlife health and plant more wildfire-resilient forests.
Socially, we continue to learn from each other through a sophisticated network of partners.
And we assist with community healing in areas that have experienced catastrophic wildfires.
Economically, we've brought hundreds of green jobs and upskilled community members, particularly in rural and Indigenous communities. Holistically, we give our forests a chance to regenerate faster and stronger. If you partner with us, we have a robust team that will support you. Next steps, we want to connect with you. We need land to test on, local experts to provide appropriate planting prescriptions, and funding to execute. Outcomes will be measured using LiDAR and multispectral data, monitoring, workshops, and toolkits. Together,
we are implementing proactive, modern, and culturally grounded land management practices that will benefit our people, our territory, and future generations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much. And I like something you said there, Jessica, or like a lot of it, but you were saying planting more wildfire resilient forests. And I think it's cool to connect this post-fire solution with the future. It's all pre-fire as well because of the continuing fire cycle. So
Absolutely.
do we have any questions for Flash Forest in Grand County? Cole?
Hey there. Sorry, I can't come off camera, but I would love to hear more about the supporting communities who have been affected by wildfires, community healing after wildfire.
Mark, do you want to talk about some of the communities you worked with in the past and then kind of where we're going?
Yeah. So in 2024, we planted in Quebec with the Ujiji-Buguma Cree Nation in the Seneca National Forest. And we also planted in Lac La Ronge in northern Saskatchewan. That took about 5 species, over 1 million trees, engagement with the local community in collecting the seeds. I brushed briefly, but there's some pictures here that you can see. It really gives communities interest in revitalization and bringing back nature. So that's something that we've observed. And working with Jessica and Grand County, it was a similar experience. Jessica, did you want to chat a little bit about a community perspective?
So I would add, Cole, when we're talking about scalability throughout Colorado, that one of the cool things about the pilot is that we were testing at above 8,000 feet. It's drought conditions. There are a lot of areas in Colorado that are similar. So working out some of the bugs there, and Grand County Wildfire Council is a part of many networks throughout the state with wildfire councils, collaboratives, watershed collaboratives. So I'm hoping that in the future we can help use this solution in other areas in Colorado as well through those networks. And I think I know a lot of people that would be interested.
Great to hear. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for your presentation. Talking about Colorado, I am interested. You mentioned 200 jobs plus since 2020. Do you have an idea of what that outlook is for Colorado over the next year to 2 years, number of jobs?
Great question, Heather. And that's a conversation that Jessica and I will have for this particular Fire Grand Challenge. We have been able to work with Grand County in, I guess, increasing or retaining their own workforce in the Wildfire Council. And also, we're based here in Canada. So we're definitely going to need some support in cross-border collaboration pieces. Jessica and I are already kind of having conversations with different organizational bodies. I can't really name, but ways to increase economic prosperity in those areas. Jessica, this might be another follow-up for you.
Yes, I would say in the future, we'd love to maybe start with some contract positions to support some of this work and then kind of move from there. Our funding is mostly pre-fire, so we'd be looking for new funding to support this. It aligns with our mission when we think about the future wildfire landscape, but it's not typical of the work that we do now. So we're expanding.
Thank you.
We've got a little bit more time for questions. Everett, do you think your question could be covered in about a minute?
Yeah, I'll go quick. Thanks for the presentation, Mark and Jessica. I was just going to ask how you think about optimizing the tree replanting to make sure that it's more resilient for the next time wildfire strikes.
Absolutely. So Mark and I have been working with local partners, Colorado State Forest Service, Middle Park Conservation District, U.S. Forest Service, to discuss the species that are appropriate for future forests as we look at a warmer climate. So for example, in the pilot, Colorado State Forest Service recommended that we add ponderosa pine seeds as they want to see. There are some in the county, not a lot, but they wanted to see what that might look like. Monoculture of lodgepole pines was a problem with the East Troublesome fire, largely because of the beetle kill epidemic back, 20 years ago. Mark?
I know we're out of time, but incorporating local knowledge, thinning continuous cover forest management, that's work that we're doing with Indigenous communities here. Proper planting prescriptions with biodiversity, as well as implementing cultural burns. It's all kind of holistic in a way. So we play a part in the restoration piece of that.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mark. And thank you all for the great questions. If you have further questions for them, their emails are in the chat, or also for any team, you can reach out to us and we can connect you as well. And so with that, we are going to pass to KaiGeoCon and then Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority and Girl Scout Camp Arnaz.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right. Move you to screen. Share screen. Sorry, I'm just getting a little bit of a lag. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Mays. I'm a senior scientist at Spatial Informatics Group Natural Assets Laboratory, and we might have the ignominious designation with KaiGeoCon of being the largest combined technical partner, community partner team in the Wildfire Grand Challenge by Conservation X Labs. And our innovation is geospatial technology strategy consulting for wildfire resilience projects, where by bringing together high resolution drone and other types of imaging, along with real-time mesh radio-enabled field data communications, we can empower adaptive management and improve situational awareness for safety and more effective wildfire mitigation project outcomes. So the problems that a lot of wildfire mitigation projects face in the last mile are poor communication and situational awareness gaps, really at planning, implementation, and post-project monitoring phases. And consequences can be permitting and planning paralysis, improper work done, damage to environmental cultural resources, injury to workers, or lawsuits. And often leaders, work crew, and community members often lack awareness to a common operating picture. So I want to take you real quick to a surprise extension of KaiGeoCon in northern Utah. I know this is hard for all of us in California, but imagine it's cold outside. And you're showing up to a prescribed burn, a pile burn, in a region, and you're either a burn boss or the land manager for a county organization that is managing 35 people, half of whom haven't worked with one another before, burning up to 2,500 piles a day over hundreds of acres. How do you keep people safe? How do you help to ensure and keep track of where you may need to monitor for holdover fires and being sure that fires aren't getting out of control? Well, what KaiGeoCon does is it brings technology that is sometimes only available to large wildfire incidents like drone-enabled thermal imaging, high-resolution 2D and 3D maps, and we send material like what you're seeing on this video, thermal imaging of hotspots, out to burn bosses and to line leaders on the fire. So even down to a line leader and worker level, folks can see what the impact of their work is. People can call out safety hazards, and people can ensure that the project stays on track. And it sets a monitoring basis for future ecological goals into the future. You may also note that in the beginning, we can carry out work more sensitively around archaeological and cultural resources if we have better situational awareness. So the solution novelty of KaiGeoCon is empowering situational awareness with a really broad geospatial technology stack, again, featuring high-resolution imagery and near real-time and cloud connectivity, field kits with mesh radio, and actually producing trainings and field project briefings for organizational staff. We value a holistic tree of outcomes for wildfire mitigation, which are improved landscape wildfire resilience, geospatial tech capacity building, and adaptive management outcomes. We work across primarily 3 types of projects, which are pretty broad: shaded fuel break networks and fuels management, prescribed fire, and ecological restoration as defensible space adaptations. Research innovations coming from university background come from both soft and hard tech. 2D and 3D vegetation and fields mapping algorithms with optical, multispectral LiDAR and thermal data, and experience setting up secure server and private data storage solutions when data is of sensitive concern. Our hard tech include field mesh radio kits, and we provide extensive training and facilitation abilities or programs for organizations. So during project life cycles, work crews are learning about cutting-edge geospatial tools, making live maps of the project. Our flow as a service provider is essentially 5 steps that involves assessing client needs, assembling a geospatial tech stack, executing a training program, and then from this, maintaining business relationships with onboard client consults as needed, and finding new clients based on referrals and networks. We are not software as a service. Our goal is rather sustained funding through service contracts, master service agreements, and licensing of innovations. Our market and business model, we have now scaled between California, 4 sites in California, 4 counties in California, Santa Barbara, Ventura, Marin, and Sonoma, and are now beginning to operate in Utah. We're thinking about reaching out to medium and large fire agencies, public and large land conservation groups, and basically sort of 2 class of clients we're looking for: those who are well-funded and can fund us now, and those who have smaller budgets who could collaborate with us on grants. So our impact in the Conservation X Challenge is training close to 50 staff in geospatial tech and helping to improve monitoring over 174 project acres. I'll park it on our asks, which is a 1-year goal to secure $500,000 to $750,000 of new funding for staff time. And if you'd like more information on our marketing memo, please check out this QR code, and we're happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Mark. Great presentation. Any questions from the audience? I've got one to kick it off as people think about it.
All right.
So you said you've got the largest team in terms of you got the 3 technology developers, 2 different partner communities in Marin County, and then also down in Ventura County. And so how was it working in Northern California versus Southern California in terms of the ecological context, attitudes, any insights that the people here would be interested in?
A wide range of common concerns and some differences. In Southern California, there was a lot of interest in doing defensible space adaptations to maintain insurance. So our Girl Scout collaborators in particular were interested in leveraging that benefit of our work. I would say there was interest in ecological and conservation goals for archaeological resources throughout. One story with our Southern Marin, our Northern County partners in Southern Marin, our field kits actually help to locate cultural resources that change the trajectory of a project to address some concerns about how the project was going to conserve archaeological resources. And I can't say more than that, but our tech actually has helped to change the trajectory of management decision making for either resource conservation or technology adoption across all the groups that we've worked with so far.
That's really interesting about the cultural resources, especially considering just how limited the capacity is with the BIA and Forest Service and other groups in terms of the number of archaeologists they have on staff and how intensive that work can be. So cool to see it can help on that front. Becca?
Hi, thank you. I'm in southwestern Colorado, and you mentioned some of the larger fire agencies. And so I'm kind of curious about scale and to what extent, how large of a scale you feel like you can partner and integrate workflows to just integrate better practices into work on the ground. It seems like something where a lot of the kind of integrating those two aspects could really be as large a scale as possible.
Yeah, with our current team, around $750,000 of funding from service contracts, ideally in the next couple of years, would basically enable us to focus on KaiGeoCon tasks full time relative to other work that we're doing. I manage about 6 other projects with SIG-NAL, and so KaiGeoCon is only a small part of all my work responsibilities. But yeah, we have a fairly batchable and repeatable curriculum and ability to conduct outreach based on the templates that we've worked with fire agencies and community partners so far. If we happen to get more funding than that, then we could perhaps talk about hiring more folks and training more folks in some of our KaiGeoCon practices. But we'd also need to hire folks who have the combination of ecosystem sciences, remote sensing, and communications hardware expertise that our team brings. But just to put some numbers on it from our asks, we're looking to try to secure 3 to 4 large contracts for sustained project engagements over, say, a fire season, and then a few smaller contracts for work over 2026. And yeah, we can operate within about 500 miles of the yellow dots, either Santa Barbara or Logan, Utah. So we have quite an ability to scale thanks to some university affiliations and ability to travel between these two places.
Mark, on your service contracts, have you got a rough per acre cost you could throw out there?
Not exactly per acre, but we can think about scaling a project as it's about the same level to us, whether to work between, say, like 10 to 40 acres, and then there's kind of a step change to like 40 acres up to low hundreds. We've framed our project engagements more in terms of whether or not we're working at, say, one site or multiple sites or multiple project types. Happy to send you more information on that.
Yeah, I'll send you some shape files, polygons, and next year, and we'll get some pricing together.
Awesome.
Exciting to see that collaboration coming into shape. And thank you, Mark. Thank you to your team. Really great work. And now we are going to pass to Vibrant Planet Data Commons and the Kalispel Tribe of Indians.
Great. Can you see my screen?
Looks
All right.
good.
So my name is Oktay Dogramachi. I'm the president of Vibrant Planet Data Commons. I'm going to talk for a few minutes about our initiative to work with tribes to provide technical support and expand access to culturally aligned wildfire risk planning tools. So to provide some context, extreme wildfires in the United States have more than doubled in intensity and frequency over the past 2 decades, displacing communities, devastating ecosystems, and driving increasing carbon emissions. The risks are growing, but so are the opportunities to act. The risks facing tribal nations are particularly pronounced. Indigenous communities are 6 times more likely to live in fire-prone areas, and wildfire in these lands impact a way of life. Cultural burning practices are one clear way to mitigate risk and really provide the basis of the type of active management that is increasingly seen today as a solution here. But unfortunately, tribes are underserved and under-resourced. And while active management is a proven way to increase wildfire resilience, solutions are often based on outdated data, and a lack of collaboration across stakeholders has made it difficult to adopt tools to best prioritize areas for risk reduction. For tribes in particular, tools need to do more than perform technically. They need to be culturally aligned, customizable, and supported for the long term. EcoTrust conducted a tribal technology and tools needs survey this year, have found that while an overwhelming 97% of tribes express readiness to adopt tools to fit their needs, over 70% cite training, data access, and technology budgets as significant barriers to adoption. So at Vibrant Planet Data Commons, we see a unique opportunity to address these gaps and provide solutions. We are a nonprofit organization that is partnering with tribes to unite traditional knowledge and customizable analytics for scalable landscape and community resilience. Together with our sister company, Vibrant Planet, we've built the next-gen fire management platform that leverages high-res data, state-of-the-art wildfire modeling, and interactive decision support tools to help stakeholders to plan and implement resilient, ecologically sustainable landscapes that reduce wildfire risk while enhancing ecosystem services. The key to our platform is that it enables collaborative, values-based planning across all the stakeholders of the landscape. That's really the point of view that underpins everything we do and is the foundation of the approach we took when we got into this business, that a lack of collaboration is often what leads stakeholders to stall in their planning efforts. We're really proud of the solution we've built. Our platform is deployed in over 70 million acres across the US and is used by a wide range of customers. When it comes to tribes, partnering and co-creating is very important to us to ensure land management strategies respect and leverage the deep ecological understanding held by tribes and indigenous communities. Our goal is to make the Vibrant Planet platform as accessible to tribes as possible and to ensure that tribes have the support they need to make the platform work for them. So the aim of our project as part of the Fire Grant Challenge was to partner with the Kalispel tribe of Indians to pilot our platform with them and ensure that our platform is culturally aligned, meaning integrating tribal values, cultural sites, and priorities into risk layers and treatment scoring, and customizable, meaning adaptable to unique governance, land status, and data ownership preferences. We conducted a user needs assessment with Kalispel and with the Bureau of Indian Affairs to ensure the platform met their needs, and we developed a replicable process that we can continue to use with other tribes going forward. And our partners at Kalispel have gotten in and used the platform. They used it to plan fuels reduction opportunities in their highest risk areas. And they're happy with the customization capabilities and features that let them use the platform for their lands. Our partner, Ray Entz at Kalispel, summed it up well. He said, the platform decreases the time and ambiguity around decision-making. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Vibrant Planet Data Commons is collaboratively developing accessible, culturally responsive technology that enhances wildfire resilience, protects cultural practices, and scales proven indigenous approaches. So one of the key takeaways from our pilot was that this type of initiative with tribes needs to be supported, meaning delivered with long-term technical support and training to build internal capacity. That is the key to scaling what we've done with Kalispel. So we're seeking funding to add dedicated staff to run our tribal stewardship program. We need a team that can build trusted relationships with tribes, onboard them onto the Vibrant Planet platform for wildfire and landscape resilience planning, and provide ongoing technical support to overcome adoption and scaling barriers. This investment will directly expand tribal access to cutting-edge tools for planning and monitoring, accelerating effective community-led resilience on the ground. Grant funding will allow us to build out this program area. With an investment of $300 to $500K, we can hire dedicated staff to repeat what we started with Kalispel. Every tribe is different and requires dedicated effort, and with more funding, we can work with more tribes more quickly in pursuit of our vision for fire-adapted, resilient forests and communities. And this type of funding would be a sustainable investment in our work. We need this foundational support to build out this program, but we believe that over time, this will shift from a grant-only funded program to an earned income program area. As resources are made available to tribes that our wildfire resilience planning needs, the services we provide will eventually earn income that can make this a self-sustaining program. So support today really is an investment in a sustainable future. So thank you. My team and our partners at Kalispel are here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Octay. Pass it off to questions. Becca?
I'm feeling more enthusiastic about questions now.
Awesome.
I was just curious with the shift in ability to work with tribes. I'm also curious to what extent with some of your other clients that weren't specifically tribes, you've been able to really integrate that cultural knowledge and or things that you learned in your work with the Kalispel tribe on and how to take cultural knowledge and values that they wanted to maybe put forth towards project prioritization and planning on lands that are maybe more co-managed, or that they still only have guidance opportunity, consultation opportunities on.
So meaning like how many of the things we're learning from tribes are applicable to other customer types? Is that what is that
Yeah,
the
yeah, from the perspective of being able to integrate, cultural collaboration, because I really see that on the other side, where I think oftentimes you go through these whole processes and really getting that cultural consultation is overlooked or never happens.
Yeah. I think there's, when we've done these surveys and dove into this process with Kalispel, there might be, and with other tribes too, there might be a basis for why they're asking for something that is maybe culturally specific to them. But when you boil that up into what it might mean for like a feature prioritization that we think about in the platform, that there's a lot of commonality that we do see with other places also. But the relative prioritization of those things might change when you're thinking about who's asking for these things and why they're asking for these things. So, a couple of examples might be, and Joel and Ray are on here. I'll invite you guys to chime in and answer if you'd like as well. But the Kalispel tribe wanted to be able to pair their LiDAR data with like our tools to do that. That's something that we hear from many customers, for example, and they'd like to do. Maybe the reasons that that's important to Kalispel might be different, but that's a common type of feature that we might see. There's questions around annual reporting that they need, and they want to streamline processes that they need to do around that. That might be something specific that a tribe needs to do, but we often see that with other community partners and other folks that want to use what they're doing in the platform to apply for a grant or to develop community wildfire protection plan, things like that. There's some other areas that are more specific to working with tribes, especially on data sovereignty issues. Like the fundamental premise is that each tribe needs to only be able to access its own land in the platform. There might be some other, customers we deal with where you could have different answers to that, and there's maybe benefit from having other types of overlap in data. So, we've been spending a lot of time on this, diving in to see what exactly, through this user needs assessment process, what exactly are the needs of working with tribes? How common are they with other folks? And how many of these things are more specific to working with our tribal partners? And what we're really eager to do is work with more tribal partners now, because, as I said, with every tribe being different, it's been great to get this exposure with Kalispel. We want to, rinse, wash, and repeat.
And we've got another question from James Radingweave as well. And so, James, do you think your
Yeah.
question will be answered in about a minute?
No, it's going to take 10 minutes.
Well, let's get started. Let's start the discussion.
Liam always tells me what to do, and I resist him. But teasingly,
it's good.
Great presentation, and I'm really glad that you touched on the data sovereignty piece. I think that's really important, and glad to hear that. I'm a tribal member, and the work I do is all around a lot of the newest work I've been part of is co-stewardship or co-management type activities with national parks. So, this platform is interesting to me if it can be designed or co-designed with partners so that the data, that is developed, that is collected, that is shared will be very helpful in making decisions about places. So I just sort of want to make that comment. And if you have any thoughts on when he's talking about expansion, work with other tribes, are you particular in the Northwest, or would you consider other geographic areas in America? Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. First I'll say data sovereignty has been a huge issue for us as we've entered into this space. Even before we were part of the Fire Grand Challenge, we spent a lot of time last year doing interviews with a number of different tribes to try and understand best practices from them as it comes to data sovereignty issues. We did a literature review also about what else is out there, and we're going to be publishing those artifacts on our website soon so that others can also learn from that. And we used that experience to guide our own principles about how we work with tribes, and you can read about that on our website under the tribal stewardship section on our website. To answer your specific question, we are not geographically bound just to the Northwest. We would like to work with any tribe across the U.S. currently. So yeah, I would welcome some follow-up conversations.
It's a good note to end on. Definitely please reach out to Octay, reach out to the team and to Ray. And thank you for the questions. And we're coming to the top of the hour. And for these last two teams, we're going to be stopping the live stream as well. But if you're watching on the live stream, you can go to their websites. Well, you're going to put that in the LinkedIn comments. You can reach out to us as well, and we can connect you. And then if you're on this call right now and you need to drop off as a partner, we will be sending out recordings. So